My name is Dr. James Whitmore, and I need to tell you about the 3 days I spent in a cabin with a dying Bigfoot who explained why his species has concluded that humanity is beyond saving. I'm a wilderness medicine physician, spent 20 years treating injuries and illnesses in remote locations, training search and rescue teams, teaching survival medicine. I thought I understood the wilderness, thought I understood healing, thought I understood the relationship between humans and nature. I was wrong about everything. In September 2021, I was hiking alone in a remote section of the Cascade Mountains when I encountered what I can only describe as a forest healer, an elderly woman who appeared seemingly from nowhere, who knew my name despite us never having met, who told me I was needed urgently to help someone who was dying, someone who had specifically asked for a human doctor, someone who wanted to speak with me before he passed. I followed her for 6 hours through trackless wilderness to a location I could never find again. And there, in a hand-built cabin hidden so perfectly that you could walk within 10 feet and never see it, I met him. A Bigfoot, 9 feet tall, ancient, dying of what I recognized as cancer, and possessing a clarity of thought and depth of understanding about humanity that was more sophisticated than most philosophy I'd studied. He told me his name was Yanra. He said he was 127 years old. And over 3 days, as I did what little I could to ease his pain while he died, he told me why his species has spent the last century watching humans carefully, documenting our behavior, and reaching a conclusion that chilled me to my core. Humanity is a failed species. Not failed in the sense of extinction. We're clearly successful at surviving and spreading. Failed in the sense of consciousness. Failed at the fundamental task of intelligent beings, choosing wisdom over destruction. And he wanted one human to know, to understand, to carry the message that his people had judged us and found us wanting, that they were withdrawing completely, that they would watch our inevitable collapse from a distance, and that they felt something like pity for us, for being intelligent enough to understand what we were doing wrong but not wise enough to change course. I met the woman on the morning of September 15th, 2021. I was on a solo backpacking trip, something I did regularly to decompress from the stress of my work. The trail was moderately trafficked, not truly remote, just quiet enough for solitude. I was maybe 4 miles from the trailhead when she appeared, not from behind me, not from ahead, just there, standing beside the trail as if she'd been waiting. She was elderly, maybe 70, maybe 90, hard to tell. Indigenous features, dressed in practical hiking clothes, but something about her seemed timeless. She looked directly at me and said, "Dr. Whitmore, I've been looking for you. You're needed." I stopped. "How do you know my name?" "Yanra told me what you look like, told me you walk this trail regularly, told me to find you and bring you to him. He's dying. He needs a doctor. Specifically, he needs you." "Who's Yanra?" "The one who's dying. Please, there isn't much time. He may have a week, maybe less, and he wants to talk to you before he goes. It's important." Every rational instinct said don't follow strange people into the wilderness. Don't abandon your planned route. Don't trust seemingly impossible situations. But something in her eyes, urgency, sadness, truth, made me believe her, made me trust that this wasn't danger. This was genuinely someone needing help. "How far?" I asked. 6 hours, maybe 7. The path isn't easy. I need to tell someone where I'm going. There's no cell service where we're headed, and he asked for secrecy. Asked that no one else know, just you. Just this once. He spent 127 years hiding from your kind. He's breaking that rule now because what he needs to tell you is important. But he won't risk exposure to more than one person. I made a choice. Probably a stupid choice. Definitely a choice that violated every safety protocol I taught. But I made it anyway. "Okay, lead the way." She nodded, stepped off the trail into dense forest. No path, no markers, just wilderness. And I followed. We hiked for 6.5 hours, through terrain that got progressively more difficult, through old-growth forests so dense that sunlight barely penetrated, across streams, over ridges, through areas where I saw no sign of human passage, no old trails, no cut stumps, no trash, nothing. Just pure wilderness. The woman moved with surprising ease for her age. Never seemed tired, never seemed uncertain about direction. She knew exactly where she was going, even though I saw no landmarks, no obvious navigation cues. "How do you know him?" I asked during a brief rest. "My people have always known his people. We share these mountains. We have agreements, boundaries, mutual respect. When his people need help, they can't provide themselves. Sometimes they ask us. He's asked for you specifically. Because you're a doctor. Because you understand pain. Because he trusts that you'll listen without judgment." Listen to what? To what he needs to say about your kind, about humans, about what he's observed in his lifetime, about why his people are withdrawing, about the message he wants delivered. "I'm not a messenger. I'm a doctor. You'll be both. That's why he chose you." As evening approached, we arrived. The cabin appeared suddenly. One moment we were in dense forest. The next we were in a small clearing maybe 50 feet across, and there was the structure. Built from local materials, logs, bark, stone, constructed with skill that suggested both intelligence and long practice. Camouflaged so perfectly that even standing in the clearing, if you didn't know it was there, your eyes would slide right past it. "He's inside," the woman said. "He's been waiting. He's weak. Be gentle, and listen carefully. What he tells you matters, not just for him, for everyone." She gestured toward the cabin door, a simple opening covered with a hide curtain. I approached slowly, pushed the curtain aside, stepped into darkness that smelled of herbs and smoke and sickness, let my eyes adjust. And then I saw him, lying on what looked like a bed of furs and moss. Massive, even lying down, covered in gray-brown fur that had thinned in places from illness. Face that was clearly not human but held undeniable intelligence in eyes that watched me enter. He made a sound, low, rumbling, complex, not threatening. Greeting, I thought. Or maybe relief. The woman entered behind me, spoke in a language I didn't know. He responded in the same language. Then she turned to me. "He says welcome. He says thank you for coming. He says he doesn't have long and there's much to say. He's been waiting for a human doctor to witness his passing and to hear his testimony. You're that witness." I knelt beside him. My medical training overrode my shock. He was dying. I could see that immediately. Could see the signs of advanced systemic illness. Could see pain in how he held himself. "I'm Dr. Whitmore," I said. "I'm here to help if I can." The woman translated. He responded. She turned to me. "He says you cannot help his body, but you can help his message. You can carry what he needs to tell. That's the help he needs. That's why you're here." Block 2, The Witness, 1085 words. I spent the first hour doing what I was trained to do, medical assessment. The woman translated between us as I asked questions, performed what examination Yanra would allow, tried to understand his condition. The diagnosis was clear even without advanced imaging. Cancer. Extensive. Metastatic. Probably originated in his liver or pancreas based on the jaundice in his eyes, the ascites distending his abdomen, the cachexia wasting his massive frame. He was dying and had been dying for months, maybe a year. "How long have you been ill?" I asked. The woman translated his response. 18 months, maybe 20. I felt it begin, felt the wrongness growing. I know what this is, have seen it in others of my kind. We call it the consuming shadow. It eats from inside, always fatal. Usually takes 2 years. I'm near the end. Have others of your people had this? More and more in recent generations. Our elders rarely died of consuming shadow. Now many do, especially those who live near human territories. We think your pollution causes it, your chemicals in water, your poisons in air. But we cannot prove, can only observe pattern. I thought about environmental carcinogens, about how indigenous peoples near industrial areas showed elevated cancer rates, about how wildlife populations showed similar patterns. His theory wasn't implausible. His people lived in wilderness adjacent to human civilization, were exposed to runoff, air pollution, contamination. If they had similar biological vulnerabilities to humans, they'd develop similar diseases. "I can give you medicine for pain," I said. "I have some supplies with me, not much, but enough to help." I would accept that. Pain is significant, but pain is not why you're here. Medicine is not why I asked for human doctor. You're here because I need witness, need someone to hear what I've learned, what my people have concluded, and need that someone to be educated, to understand, to carry message accurately. What message? About humans, about your kind, about what we've observed watching you for century, about why we're withdrawing, why we're choosing to let you collapse without intervention, why we believe you're beyond saving. The woman brought tea, something herbal, medicinal smelling, helped Yanra drink. He was weak, could barely lift his head, but his mind was sharp, his eyes were focused. He wanted to talk and he wanted me to listen. "I'm 127 years old," he began, the woman translating his complex vocalizations into English. "I was born in 1894. I have watched human civilization transform from scattered settlements to global dominance, have watched technology emerge, have watched populations explode, have watched wilderness disappear, have watched your kind go from barely surviving to dominating everything. And I have watched you make the same mistakes repeatedly despite being intelligent enough to know better." What mistakes? Every mistake. The mistake of believing growth can be infinite. The mistake of treating nature as resource to exploit. The mistake of prioritizing comfort over sustainability. The mistake of choosing short-term benefit over long-term survival. The mistake of believing you're separate from nature rather than part of it. The mistake of thinking intelligence alone is enough without wisdom to guide it. He paused, breathing labored, pain evident despite his attempt to hide it. I gave him morphine, a small dose, enough to ease suffering without rendering him unconscious. He nodded gratitude. "My people have debated for decades," he continued. "Debated whether to reveal ourselves, whether to try to help humans, whether to share what we know about living in balance with nature. Some believed we had moral obligation, believed that watching another intelligent species destroy itself without trying to help was wrong. Others believed humans were dangerous, believed revealing ourselves would lead to our extinction, that humans would study us, hunt us, exploit us, eliminate us as you have every other species that competes with you." Which side were you on? I was uncertain. I saw validity in both arguments, saw that humans were dangerous but also saw potential, saw that you created beauty sometimes, created art, music, philosophy, science, saw that some of you cared about nature, about other species, about future. Thought maybe if we helped, if we taught, if we shared wisdom accumulated over thousands of years living sustainably, maybe you would choose differently. What changed your mind? Watching you receive warnings from your own kind and ignore them. Watching your own scientists explain what was happening. Climate change, ecosystem collapse, extinction cascades. And watching you not just ignore them but actively attack them. Watching you choose to believe comfortable lies over uncomfortable truths. Watching you prioritize quarterly profits over generational survival. Watching you know with certainty what was coming, and still choose destruction. That's when I understood. You're not failing because you lack information. You're failing because you lack wisdom. And we cannot give you wisdom. Wisdom must be chosen, must be developed, must be earned through discipline and sacrifice, and your species consistently chooses otherwise. Not all humans. No, not all. Some of you try, some of you understand, some of you sacrifice and work and fight to change course, but not enough, never enough. Your systems, economic, political, social, are structured to reward destruction and punish sustainability. The humans who try to save you are marginalized by humans who profit from destroying you. And those profit-seeking humans have more power, more influence, more ability to shape policy. So the warnings are ignored. The science is dismissed. The changes needed are blocked, and your species continues toward collapse that is now inevitable. I wanted to argue, wanted to defend humanity, wanted to say we could still change. But I looked at this dying being who'd watched us for 127 years, and I couldn't find convincing arguments. Because he was right. We did know what we were doing wrong. We did have warnings from our best scientists. We did have alternatives. And we consistently chose not to implement them because implementation required sacrifice, and humans, collectively, systemically, don't choose sacrifice. We choose comfort until comfort becomes impossible. Is that the message? I asked. That we're doomed? Part of it, but not all. The message has 3 parts. First part is what I've told you. My people have judged your species, have observed you carefully, have concluded you are intelligent but not wise, capable of understanding but not capable of acting on understanding, therefore doomed to collapse. Second part comes tomorrow, about what we've learned about consciousness, about what makes species viable. Third part comes on final day, about what happens next, about our choice, about why we withdraw, about what we hope, even though hope is probably foolish. He closed his eyes, exhausted from talking. The woman gestured that I should rest, should let him sleep. Tomorrow he would continue. Tonight I should think about what I'd heard. I spent that night lying awake in the cabin, listening to Yanra's labored breathing, thinking about 127 years of observations, about a species that had watched us long enough to judge us comprehensively, about beings who'd concluded we were beyond saving, and about what it meant that I couldn't disagree with their assessment. The second day began with me administering more pain medication and checking Yanra's vital signs, a strange habit given that I was treating a species I'd been trained to believe didn't exist. His condition had deteriorated overnight. The cancer was progressing rapidly. I estimated he had maybe 3 or 4 days left, maybe less. The woman, who told me her name was Marie, though I suspected that was for my convenience rather than her actual name, brought food, prepared tea, helped Yanra sit up enough to drink. He was weaker but determined, wanted to continue our conversation, wanted to deliver the second part of his message. You asked yesterday if doom was the whole message, he began, his voice weaker, the woman translating more carefully now. It is not. The message is bigger, is about consciousness itself, about what it means to be aware, about what separates viable consciousness from failed consciousness. This is what my people have learned watching humans and watching ourselves and watching other species. This is what I want you to understand. I settled in to listen. Outside, rain had started, soft, steady, the kind that makes forests feel even more isolated and ancient. Consciousness is rare, Yanra said. In universe, in nature, awareness of self is uncommon. Most life simply exists, responds to stimuli, survives, reproduces, no reflection, no questioning, no understanding of existence itself. But some species develop consciousness, develop awareness, develop ability to think about thinking, to question, to choose. This is precious. This is valuable. This is, we believe, sacred. He paused, breathing heavily, pain evident despite medication. I adjusted his position slightly, tried to make him more comfortable. He continued, but consciousness alone is not enough. Consciousness without wisdom becomes curse rather than blessing, becomes tool for destruction rather than flourishing. My people have identified pattern that determines whether conscious species survives or fails. And pattern is this. Viable consciousness develops in balance with 3 capacities. First capacity is self-awareness. Second is other awareness. Third is system awareness. All 3 must develop together, must grow in balance. When they don't, consciousness fails. Explain, I said. What do those terms mean? Self-awareness is understanding yourself, your needs, your desires, your suffering, your potential. Humans have this. Have it strongly. Know yourselves well. Know what you want. Know what causes you pleasure and pain. This capacity humans excel at. Other awareness is understanding that other beings also have inner experience, also have needs, desires, suffering, potential, that their experience matters as much as yours. That causing harm to them is real harm, not abstract concept, that their flourishing or suffering has moral weight. Humans have this. Partially. Have it for other humans usually. Sometimes have it for animals you consider cute or useful. Rarely have it for beings different from you. Rarely extend moral consideration beyond narrow circle of concern. System awareness is understanding that you exist within larger systems, ecosystems, social systems, planetary systems, that your actions have consequences beyond immediate effects, that systems have limits, that exceeding those limits damages everyone, including yourself, that long-term sustainability requires respecting system boundaries. Humans have this capacity least of all, can understand it intellectually, can study it scientifically, but cannot, will not act based on that understanding when action requires sacrifice. I thought about this framework, about how it described humanity with uncomfortable accuracy. We understood ourselves brilliantly, understood others adequately when they were similar to us, but understood systems terribly, knew the science, ignored the implications, prioritized immediate benefit over systemic health. My people developed all three capacities in balance, Yanra continued. We understand ourselves, understand others, not just our own kind, but all beings we share territory with, and understand systems. Understand that forest that feeds us must be maintained, that animals we hunt must have populations sustained, that water we drink must be kept clean, that balance must be preserved or everything fails, including us. This is not morality we invented, is not rule we follow reluctantly, is understanding we carry in our consciousness, is wisdom built into how we think. Humans developed differently, developed self-awareness first and strongest, developed incredible capacity for understanding individual human needs and desires, built entire civilization around satisfying those needs, created technology, economy, culture, all oriented toward human flourishing at individual and collective level, but did not develop other capacities in balance, did not extend moral consideration broadly, did not internalize system awareness. So your consciousness became unbalanced, became tool for pursuing self-interest without adequate consideration of others or systems, became dangerous. Dangerous to yourselves? I asked. Dangerous to everything. Dangerous to other species. You drive them extinct pursuing your benefit. Dangerous to ecosystems. You destroy them extracting resources. Dangerous to planet. You destabilize climate for convenience. Dangerous to each other. You create massive suffering pursuing profit and power. And yes, dangerous to yourselves, because destroying systems you depend on eventually destroys you. But you cannot stop. Cannot choose system health over self-benefit. Your consciousness is structurally incapable of making that choice at scale needed. The rain intensified outside. The cabin felt smaller, more isolated, like we were the only beings existing having this conversation that no one else would hear. This is what my people concluded, Yanra said, after century of watching humans, after analyzing your behavior patterns, after trying to understand how species so intelligent could be so destructive. We concluded, your consciousness is malformed, is imbalanced, has capacities developed in wrong proportions. You are like beings with incredibly strong arms but weak legs, can do amazing things with your strength but cannot stand stable, cannot maintain balance, eventually fall. And because you are so strong, your falling destroys much around you. Can consciousness be rebalanced? I asked. Can we develop the capacities we lack? Theoretically, yes. Individual humans do this sometimes. Develop broader moral consideration. Develop system awareness. Live sustainably. Make choices based on long-term good rather than short-term benefit. But individuals cannot change species-level patterns. Your systems, your economies, your governments, your cultures are built on imbalanced consciousness. Reward self-interest. Punish system consideration. make it nearly impossible to act wisely even when individuals want to. So the imbalance perpetuates, gets worse, becomes self-reinforcing, until collapse forces change. But collapse is violent, teacher. Many die learning lessons that could have been learned peacefully if chosen earlier. Is this what you want me to tell people? That our consciousness is malformed? I want you to tell people that consciousness is responsibility, that being aware means being accountable, that intelligence without wisdom is not achievement, but failure, that your kind developed incredible capacity for understanding self but neglected development of understanding others and systems, and that this imbalance is killing you. Not because universe is punishing you, because imbalanced consciousness naturally destroys its own foundation. This is not moral judgment, is observation of pattern, is understanding of how consciousness works and what makes it viable or failed. He closed his eyes. Tomorrow, final part, about our choice, about withdrawal, about what happens when viable consciousness watches failed consciousness collapse, about what we hope for, even though hope is foolish. I sat with those words as Yanra slept, thinking about consciousness, about awareness, about the terrible burden of being intelligent enough to understand your failures but not wise enough to change them, about watching yourself destroy what you need to survive and being unable to stop, about beings who developed balanced consciousness, watching beings who hadn't, seeing clearly what would happen, and choosing not to intervene. Marie brought me dinner. We ate in silence. What could I say? That he was wrong? I couldn't. Because he wasn't wrong. He diagnosed humanity with precision that no human philosopher had achieved, had identified the exact failure point, had explained why all our intelligence couldn't save us from ourselves. Outside, the rain continued. Inside, a dying being from another species delivered judgment on mine. And I had no defense to offer, no argument to make, just the terrible weight of recognition. He was right. About all of it. Block 4, the withdrawal, 1085 words. The third day, Yanara was barely conscious. The cancer was shutting down his systems rapidly. I'd seen this pattern in human patients, the final acceleration when the body simply gives up fighting. I gave him higher doses of morphine, tried to keep him comfortable. He'd drift in and out of lucidity, sometimes speaking in his own language to Marie, sometimes aware of my presence, sometimes lost in whatever internal experience dying brings. But in the afternoon, he rallied, became clear-eyed and focused in the way terminal patients sometimes do before the end. He looked at me directly, made a sound. Marie translated. Final part. Must tell you while I still can. About our decision, about what comes next. I moved closer. I'm listening. My people have made choice, he began. After decades of debate, after watching humans accelerate toward collapse, after seeing every warning ignored, every alternative rejected, every chance for change wasted, we have decided, we withdraw. We remove ourselves from any interaction with humans. We let you collapse without interference. We watch from distance, but we do not help. Do not intervene. Do not try to save you from yourselves. Why tell me this? Why bring me here if you've decided not to interact? Because one human should know, should understand this is not accident, not random abandonment, is deliberate choice, is decision made after careful consideration. You should know that beings watched, beings cared, beings considered helping, and beings chose not to. That choice has meaning, that choice is itself message. What message? Message is, you are alone. You built civilization on assumption that you are only consciousness that matters, that only human experience is real, that only human flourishing is important, that nature is backdrop for human drama, that other species are resources or obstacles or irrelevancies. You built world around yourself. Now you live in that world, alone, without allies, without witnesses who care, without anyone to help when systems you ignored finally fail. This is what you chose, this is what you get. The brutality of that statement hung in the air. Not angry, not vindictive, just factual, descriptive of consequences. We could have helped, Yanra continued, could have taught you, could have shown you how to live sustainably, could have shared wisdom accumulated over thousands of years, could have been allies, could have been teachers, could have been partners in maintaining planet that we all share. But you never saw us as potential partners, never saw us as conscious beings worthy of consideration. On rare occasions when humans encountered us, response was fear or attempt to capture or desire to prove we exist for human curiosity. Never respect, never recognition of personhood, never offer of reciprocity. Some humans would have. Some. Yes. Always some. Some humans see clearly, see other species as valuable, see nature as partner, see consciousness wherever it exists. But some is not enough. Your systems are not built on some. Your systems are built on majority behavior, on collective patterns. And collective patterns are domination, exploitation, self-interest, disregard for others. These patterns made intervention impossible, made partnership impossible, made us conclude, helping humans means becoming victims of humans, means being studied, exploited, used, means our wisdom being taken without our consent, means our existence being reduced to human curiosity or human benefit. We chose survival over altruism, chose protection over help, chose to let you fail alone rather than risk being destroyed trying to save you. I felt defensive but couldn't articulate defense, because he was right. If his people had revealed themselves, human response would have been exactly as he described. Scientific study, media sensation, exploitation. We would have treated them as objects of curiosity, not subjects with their own agency and rights. We would have taken without asking, studied without consent, reduced them to means for human ends rather than recognizing them as ends in themselves. Is this why you wanted to tell me? I asked. To make sure one human knew you were choosing to abandon us? Not abandon. We were never responsible for you. We're never obligated to save you. Abandonment implies relationship where we owed you aid. We did not. We owe you nothing. You owe us nothing. We are separate species sharing planet. You chose to dominate planet without consideration for others. We chose to hide and survive. Those are both valid choices, but now your choice leads to collapse. And we choose not to prevent that collapse. Not because we hate you, because we understand that collapse is consequence, is lesson, is necessary correction. And interfering with necessary correction does not help, only delays, only makes eventual lesson more severe. You're going to watch us die. We are going to watch you learn. Some of you will die. Many of you will die, but not all, never all. Humans are too adaptable, too intelligent, too resourceful to go completely extinct. You will survive. Smaller numbers, simpler technology, harder lives, but survive. And perhaps survivors will develop wisdom your ancestors lacked. We'll learn that balance is not luxury but necessity, that sustainability is not choice but requirement, that consciousness without wisdom is catastrophic gift. This is what we hope. Even though hope is foolish, even though pattern suggests you will rebuild and repeat same mistakes, but we hope anyway, because consciousness is precious, and waste of consciousness is tragedy even when that consciousness is not our own. What about your species? What happens to you? We survive. We are few, but we are stable. We live sustainably. We maintain balance. We will watch human collapse. We'll wait. We'll see what emerges. If survivors develop wisdom, if they choose differently, if they build civilization that respects limits, then perhaps someday, far future, there can be communication, can be relationship, can be partnership, but not now, not with current humanity. Current humanity is too dangerous, too destructive, too unconscious. Must fail, must learn, must be broken down and rebuilt. Only then, maybe, can consciousness develop properly, can balance emerge, Can wisdom grow? His breathing became labored. The rally was ending, the final clarity fading back into morphine haze and systemic shutdown. But he had one more thing to say, forced himself to focus, to speak clearly. Tell them. Tell humans. Not all. They will not believe. They will call you crazy. But tell some. Tell the ones who might listen. Tell them. You were watched. You were judged. You were found wanting. Not because you lacked intelligence, because you lacked wisdom. And beings who could have helped chose not to. Chose to let you learn through collapse what you would not learn through teaching. This is not cruelty. This is respect. Respect for consequence, respect for lesson, respect for pattern of how consciousness develops. You must learn this yourselves. No one can learn it for you. We hope you learn. We doubt you will. But we hope anyway. Those were his last coherent words. After that, he faded, slipped into unconsciousness that would last until death. I stayed with him, kept him comfortable, watched a being from another species die alone except for two witnesses, one of his people's allies, one of the species he'd spent his final days judging. Block 5, the testimony, 1,100 words. Yanra died on the morning of the fourth day, September 19, 2021, peacefully in his sleep, with Marie sitting beside him singing something in a language I didn't know. I checked for vital signs even though I knew, even though it was obvious. He was gone. Marie didn't cry, didn't show obvious grief. Just sat with him for a long time in silence. Then she stood. We must prepare him. His people will come for him tonight. They will take him to burial place. Place humans cannot find. Place where his body returns to Earth properly. You should leave before they come. They asked for you as witness to his dying, not as witness to his burial. That is private. That is for our people and his people only. What do I do now? I asked. Where do I go? How do I find my way back? I will guide you partway, to place where you can find trail. From there you know way. But first, he gave you message. What will you do with it? I'd been thinking about that for 3 days, about what it meant to receive judgment from another species, about what responsibility I had to share it, about whether anyone would believe me, about whether it mattered if they believed. I'll tell people, I said. I don't know how, don't know who will listen, but I'll tell them. I'll write it down. I'll share his message. I'll make sure someone knows that we were watched, we were judged, and we were found wanting. Good, he chose well, chose human who would listen, who would carry message honestly. Many humans would distort, would make this about fear or about salvation or about proving Bigfoot exists. You will make this about what it is, about consciousness, about wisdom, about choice, about consequence. This is why he asked for you specifically, why he watched you for months, why he had me find you. He knew you would understand message properly. He watched me for months. His people watch many humans, looking for ones who might understand, might listen, might carry message accurately. You were chosen carefully, from many candidates. He saw you help others without demanding recognition, saw you work in wilderness with respect, saw you teach with patience, saw you treat suffering with dignity. These qualities suggested you might hear message without filtering it through ego or agenda. He was right. She helped me gather my things. We prepared to leave. But first I went to Yanra's body, knelt beside him, placed my hand on his shoulder, massive even in death. Thank you, I said, for trusting me, for sharing what you learned, for believing that one human might listen. I'll carry your message. I promise. Marie led me back toward civilization, not the same route we'd taken coming in. A different path, shorter but still complex enough that I'd never find it again without guide. We walked for 4 hours before reaching a place I recognized, a junction where marked trails intersected, where I could navigate back to Trailhead. From here you know way, she said. I return now. Return to help his people. Return to my own work. You will not see me again. Will not find that cabin again. His people will dismantle it, will erase all signs, will ensure no human can follow. This was one meeting, one message, one chance for your kind to hear what his kind concluded. Do not seek more. Do not try to find proof. Do not try to document or verify or convince skeptics. Just carry message, tell truth, let people decide if they believe. Why did he choose to tell humans at all? I asked. If his people decided to withdraw completely, why break that rule? Because silence would be kind, and kindness would be dishonest. His people judged your people. That judgment has weight, has meaning, has implications. You deserve to know, deserve to understand that your isolation is not accident, is choice, is consequence, is response to how you built your world. Better to know and reject than to collapse wondering if anyone cared. At least now you know. Someone cared enough to watch, to analyze, to consider, and to choose deliberate withdrawal rather than random absence. That knowledge itself is gift, even if it feels like condemnation. She turned to leave. I called after her. Will your people withdraw too? Will you stop helping humans? She paused. My people made different choice. We stay, we witness, we help when we can. We maintain old agreements. But we are human. We understand humans differently than his people do. We see complexity his people cannot see. See potential alongside failure. See beauty alongside destruction. We stay because we hope, even though hope is foolish, even though patterns suggest hope is unjustified. We stay. But his people withdraw. That is their right. That is their choice. Respect it. Then she was gone, disappeared into the forest like she'd appeared 4 days earlier. There one moment, gone the next, leaving me alone at a trail junction with a message I didn't want but couldn't ignore. I hiked back to the trailhead, drove home, tried to return to normal life. But normal didn't exist anymore. How do you go back to daily routines after spending 3 days with a dying being from another species who explained why humanity is failing? How do you treat patients and teach classes and do paperwork knowing that you were chosen to receive judgment from beings we've never acknowledged exist? I tried telling people, told close friends, told colleagues I trusted. Responses ranged from polite skepticism to genuine concern for my mental health. No one believed. Some suggested I'd had a breakdown. Some suggested elaborate hoax. Some suggested misinterpreted experience with a dying homeless person or hallucination from bad water. No one accepted that I'd spent 3 days with a dying Bigfoot receiving testimony about humanity's failures. So I stopped telling people directly. Instead, I'm writing this, recording it, sharing it in ways that don't require face-to-face belief or judgment, putting it out into the world as testimony, as documentation, as message delivered as I promised I would deliver it. I don't expect you to believe me. Don't expect you to accept that Bigfoot exists or that one of them spent his final days explaining why his species has judged us and found us wanting. But I'm telling you anyway, because I promised. Because the message deserves to be heard even if it's rejected. Because Yanra spent 127 years observing us and deserves to have his conclusions documented even if they're dismissed as fiction or delusion or hoax. Here is what he told me. Humanity is intelligent but not wise. We developed consciousness but developed it in an imbalanced way. We understand ourselves but not others or systems. We know what we're doing wrong but cannot stop. We are driving ourselves toward collapse not through ignorance but through inability to choose long-term survival over short-term benefit. This is not moral failure, it's structural failure of how our consciousness developed. His people watched us, considered helping us, debated for decades, and chose to withdraw instead. Chose to let us collapse, chose to watch from distance. Not from cruelty, but from understanding that we must learn these lessons ourselves. That interference would only delay necessary learning. That consciousness must develop wisdom through consequence. They hope we survive. Hope survivors develop wisdom our ancestors lacked. hope we learn balance, but they doubt we will. And they will not help us, will not intervene, will not save us from ourselves. Because that is not help. That is just delaying inevitable lesson. This is the message. This is what Yanra died trying to tell us. This is what I promise to carry. You can believe it or dismiss it. Can call it fiction or delusion or hoax. Can ignore it completely. That's your choice. But the message has been delivered. The testimony has been given. The judgment has been shared. We were watched. We were judged. We were found wanting. And we are alone. That's the chilling truth the dying Bigfoot told me. That's what I learned in 3 days in a hidden cabin. That's what I'm sharing now because I promised I would. Do with it what you will.